Hey everybody, Joey here again and welcome back. So today I'm going to show you how to never do a water change again. You'll technically still be doing them, but the physical aspect to it is going to be taken out of the equation. So a lot of you might be wondering, what's the point of even doing water changes? Given the fact that it's the single most important aspect of the hobby, you should probably know. Water changes are extremely important based on the single fact that it does several things for your aquarium. One of those things is obviously it removes nitrates from the aquarium, or at least dilutes them. Nitrates are essentially the end process of the nitrogen cycle. There are some products on the market that will remove nitrates, like an algae scrubber or some sort of a vodka dosing unit or something along those lines. And an algae scrubber is a natural way to remove nitrates, but it's one of those things that you'll have to build it. I'll show you how to build one eventually, or it's another product that you'll have to purchase and maintain. At the end of the day, all it's doing is still only removing nitrates and nothing else. Nitrates aren't the only reason we do a water change. A water change also replaces the minerals and salts in your aquarium, essentially one of the key factors to your fish's growth and metabolism. That's something that removing just nitrates doesn't do for you. So water changes are extremely important. You're still going to have to do them. Now, why are we looking at this tank? Well, I actually installed my idea. It's actually not my idea, but my method of doing my water changes on this aquarium. Now, before we get started, let's talk about what this actually is and what you're going to need to do it. So what I'm going to show you in this video is essentially a drip system. I'm going to show you how to build and install a drip system. Now, what is a drip system? Well, a drip system is a very, very simple and basic way of doing water changes. What it's doing is, just to sum it up, is you will be continuously dripping fresh water into your aquarium. Now, as that fresh water is added, you're going to need a method to get that older water that is old and stale out of your aquarium. So as you add fresh water, that old water, or the water that's accumulating in your aquarium, is going to need to get out somehow. We're going to get that out by overflowing it out of the aquarium. We'll get to that in a moment. But that's essentially how it works. Now, you can compare it to like a flow-through system. A lot of zoos or large public aquariums are situated close to a large water source, like a river or ocean. And what they're doing is continuously pumping in fresh water and pumping out old water. And that's really what a drip system is doing. We're going to continuously drip water into your aquarium, and the old water is going to overflow out. And by drip, I literally mean drip. It's going to be like a leaky faucet in your aquarium. But keep in mind, that dripping water accumulates and adds up over time. We're going to get to that now. So as you guys can see, I've located my household water pump. This is essentially pumping water from my well it's under my house up into the house. On this well pump, I have a few outlets. One is pumping water, throughout the house. There's another valve that's teed off down at the bottom that allows water to exit if I want to by basically opening up that valve. Now, not everybody's going to have this in their house, but you all have faucets that you can tap into, or you might have a cellar that has a faucet down there. All you need is a cold water source. You do not need hot water. Now, not needing hot water is going to save you money on your power bill, because we're not using hot water or warm water at all to do water changes anymore. So, all that money that your aquariums were costing you because of your water changes is completely eliminated. Not reduced, but eliminated. Now that we have a water source, or somewhere to tap into, the very first thing you're going to need is a pressure regulator. Now, I have a pressure regulator, and all of my parts and pieces came out of a drip irrigation system. They're essentially made for water gardens for the most part, but the funny thing is they have absolutely every component that you're going to need for your drip system. They have the pressure regulator, They have all the tubing you're going to need, and they even have drip emitters. And those are really the three main components to a drip system that you're going to need. So, with what a pressure regulator is and what I have installed here is really simple. What it's going to do is when you open up your water valve, a certain amount of water is going to keep gushing out. That amount of water is not always going to be the same because the pressure is always changing, essentially. What a pressure regulator is going to do is regulate that pressure. And with drip irrigation systems, the regulators are around 25 psi. That's what they're rated for. So that means how much force is going to be able to come out of on the other end of the regulator. And 25 is right around where you want to be. So a 25 psi regulator is what you're going to need first and foremost. Now this whole drip irrigation system cost me about $10. It was on clearance and I got it from a local hardware store. After that, I tapped into it with some airline tubing that it came with. Now this airline tubing has a small amount of water coming through it at all times. Because of the pressure regulator installed, it's always going to be the same amount of water at the same pressure. Now, because I'm on a well, I don't treat my water for chlorine or anything like that, so I can take this water and direct it directly to my aquarium. If you're not on a well, and you're on municipal water and they're treating the water with chlorine or chloramines or things like that, you're going to need to pre-treat the water before it gets to your aquarium. One method of doing that is to run the water through a carbon filter before it gets to your aquarium. You guys see them all the time. They're just household canister carbon filters. You know, they go underneath your tap and filter your water really. Well, you can get one pretty cheap, maybe 10, 20 bucks, and install it. You basically cut the line, install it in place, and pump the water to your aquarium. Now, once it gets to your aquarium, as you can see, the water is dripping right out of this emitter. This is actually a valve that I have set to 1 gallon per hour. So what's dripping out of here is dripping 1 gallon per hour. Doesn't sound like a lot of water, but you times that by 24 hours in a day, and I'm doing 24 gallons of water changes in one day. So 24 gallons of fresh water is being added to the aquarium. Now the drip emitter is very important. You're going to either want to get one that drips a certain amount, a set amount, or something like this that you can adjust the amount of water that drips out of it. So that was really it. You've seen all of the components that's going to be required to build your drip system, and you're not even going to have to build it because all of those components come in a drip irrigation system that you can buy at your local hardware store or on eBay or online somewhere, whichever you prefer. All you need to make sure is that your kit comes with a pressure regulator and some hose, of course, and as well as a drip emitter. Those are really the three main components. Before you do that though, you're going to want to scout your house out. Make sure you have a water source. Find out if you're on a well or municipal well, and then move forward. But now that we are on to getting the water into the aquarium, it's time to find out how are we going to get this out of the aquarium. Well, very simple. We're going to install an overflow on the aquarium. You can have a hang on the back PVC overflow like I showed you guys how to build before, or you can simply drill your aquarium at a certain level in your tank. What's going to happen is, for example, if I drilled a hole right here, as water is slowly dripped into the aquarium, the water level is going to rise. As it rises, it's eventually going to overflow out of that hole. Now, that overflow is going to have a hose attached to it, of course, and that hose should lead somewhere where you can drain the water. Now, I have mine drilled into my sump. So as water is going to be overflowing out of the aquarium and into the sump, extra water is being added to it that the sump can't handle, so that's actually overflown out and into a drain that I have in my floor. If you do not have a sump or you don't want to drill your aquarium, go ahead and use a PVC overflow, like the one I showed you how to use, or how to build in one of my previous videos. Another thing that you might have an issue with is you don't have a a hole in your floor, essentially a drain. Well, I do, so I don't have to run into that problem as to find out what to do with the extra water. A suggestion or an idea might be to grab a Rubbermaid tote or some form of a bucket that can hold twice as much water as you're going to drip in that day, and then empty it daily or something like that. Nonetheless, guys, what this video is going to enable you to do is essentially no more water changes. I don't have to do any more water changes on this aquarium because they're being done for me on a continuous basis. It's also going to save me a lot of money on my power bill based on the fact that I'm not going to be using any more hot water doing my water changes. Now, the reason why I got that set up is because I'm going to be moving to a much larger aquarium where doing regular water changes isn't going to be that practical for me. It's going to be time consuming and pretty expensive at the end of the month when I get my power bill and I used all that hot water. Nonetheless, guys, I hope this video proves useful for a lot of you. I hope you learned something from it, and we'll see you next time.